All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Township of Wainfleet regular council meeting of November 18th, 2025 to order. Please stand for the national anthem. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councilor Van Fleet?
I'll be leaving for the public meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so please note that the meeting proceedings are being broadcast live, recorded, and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. Thank you to everyone who attended our 12th annual Remembrance Day ceremony and to our great volunteers who make it happen each year. Special budget meetings will be held next week on November 24th and 26th at 4 p.m. Our next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, December 9th at 6:30 p.m., where we expect to adopt the final 2026 budget. This will also be our last regular meeting of 2025. Are there any announcements or remarks from members of council? Seeing none? Okay, so this evening we have Brett Leggett with us in chambers. I'm looking for a general consent from council to amend the order of the agenda to consider correspondence item C201 respecting Brett Leggett as or certification list so that Mr. Leggett doesn't need to sit through the full proceedings. Leggett? Sorry, I apologize. Leggett. Leggett. You got it. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Thanks for clearing that up, everyone. Okay, so Councilor Van Fleet, you requested to pull this item. I don't believe there was a motion, but rather you wish to speak to it?
Well, I just wanted to say, yay, Brett. Leggett.
Leggett.
As I've called him his whole life, just Leggett.
Congratulations, Brett. All right, and I guess we have to pose for a photo. Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. All right, so we're going to move into the adoption of previous council minutes. So I have a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held October 21st, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Gilmore and Councilor Anderson. I got it right tonight. I know, I took time. Any discussion? You're still sore about that? I apologize. Counselor Gilmore was at the Remembrance Day ceremony. Let that go on record. Again, any discussion? Seeing none, okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we have two public meetings this evening. Zoning bylaw amendment Z06 2025W. So in accordance with the Planning Act, a public meeting is held to present information regarding the proposed amendment to the public and for council to receive comments from the public. Staff will not make a recommendation and council will not make a decision on the proposed amendment at this evening's public meeting. A planning report will be brought forward by staff and considered by council at a later date. As a member of the public, you are welcome to request to be notified of any future meetings respecting the proposed amendment. Please provide your contact information on the sign-in sheet located at the back of council chambers. Please be advised that the sign-in information will form part of the public record for this application. I will now ask Ms. Earle to provide details on the purpose of the proposed amendment and any written comments received.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The subject lands are located on the east side of Pettit Road between Highway 3 and Bell Road and are known municipally as 43237 Pettit Road. The subject lands are designated as prime agricultural area in the Niagara Official Plan, designated as agricultural area in the Township's Official Plan, and zoned agricultural A2 and A2-1 under Zoning Bylaw 034-2014. The lands are subject to a concurrent consent application to sever Part 1 as a surplus farm dwelling and to establish an easement for a shared driveway. The consent applications are scheduled to be heard by the Committee of Adjustment at their November 19th meeting. An approval of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will be requested as a condition of any consent approvals. The zoning bylaw amendment proposes to rezone Parcel 2 to a site-specific A2-186 zone to prohibit dwellings and to recognize a minimum lot area of 6.544 hectares and a minimum lot frontage of 15.18 meters. Parcel 1 will remain zoned agricultural A2. With respect to comments received, and in accordance with the requirements under the Planning Act, a notice of public meeting was mailed to property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands, with a public notice board posted on the property. The application materials were also posted on the Township's website and were circulated to agencies and Township departments for review and comment. The following comments were received. Enbridge Gas noted no objection, but indicated that they reserve the right to amend or remove development conditions. Niagara Region noted no objection, but recommended that the other wetland feature on Parcel 2 be included in the zoning bylaw amendment with an appropriately restrictive environmental zone. The Township's building, bylaw, and drainage departments offered no objections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Earle. So does the applicant wish to provide any comments regarding their application? Since they are not here, I will take that as a no. Does any member of council have any comments regarding this proposed amendment? Seeing none, is there anyone else in the gallery that wishes to provide comment on the proposed amendment? Seeing none. Seeing there is no further comments, I will now ask Ms. Earle to review next steps.
Thank you. A planning report regarding the complete review of the application will be brought forward by staff and considered by council at a later date. I also have the following note regarding appeal rights. Bill 185, the Cutting Red Tape to Build More Homes Act 2024, was given royal assent on June 6, 2024, and restricts third-party appeals. The Planning Act now states that the applicant, a specified person, a public body, the registered owner of the land to which the bylaw applies, and the minister may appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And that is provided they provide oral submission at a public meeting or written submission to council before a decision is made. Parties other than those listed above are no longer eligible to file appeals for this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Earle. So that concludes the public meeting for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If you wish to be notified of the decision of council regarding the proposed application, you must make a written request to the planning department. Okay, so we're going to move into our second public meeting, the 2026 proposed user fees and charges. The purpose of the public meeting is to provide information and gather public comments regarding the 2026 user fees and charges bylaw for various municipal services and activities and for the use of the township property and for proposed changes to 2026 building permit fees. Notice of the public meeting was given and meets the requirements of Section 7 of the Building Code Act. A bylaw establishing new 2026 fees and charges is anticipated to be considered by council, with new fees and charges coming into effect on January 1st, 2026. I will now ask Mr. Hart to provide a brief overview of the proposed changes to the 2026 user fees and charges and building permit fees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of the user fees and charges are for the upcoming 2026 operating budget and fiscal year. This is a critical step in our financial planning, ensuring we maintain fiscal responsibility and adhere to provincial requirements that user fees be aligned with the costs of service delivery. The core changes are first to address rising operational costs across the organization, inflationary adjustments of 2.4%. Cover the majority of fees in administration, fire, and public works. In key departments such as building and septic, we are recommending more significant adjustments, which are essential to move specific services closer to cost recovery and strengthen the financial position of those departments as mandated by legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So regarding the coming closer to costing factors, is there a reason legislatively or just through prudence that we don't come in at cost of? You didn't understand that question, right? Okay. So if 2.4% was an average and a couple of things we bumped up a little bit, the ones that we bumped up a little extra, are they full cost recovery or coming at full cost recovery?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, all of our user fees are supposed to be 100% cost recovery. We're not allowed to make any profit and we can't charge less.
So the ones that were like sort of special add-ons, are they going to secure full cost recovery?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. The fees and charges that are proposed cover our calculated costs, our estimated costs of providing those services.
And so those costs, are they deemed out of sort of hourly wages, inflation, adjustments to salaries, et cetera? Like it's just a whole big bundle of costing, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. So like employee wages, equipment usage, any materials that we would need to use, all of those things are things that we consider.
So, if, like for example, if we have an incremental annual wage salary increment, that is costed each year in our fee structures, that's built in?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. Most of the increase is going to be the cost of our employee wages and benefits to perform those services.
Thank you, Cameron.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none, I declare the public meeting closed. Council will be considering a report on the proposed 2026 user fees and charges and building permit fees in the staff report section of the agenda. That concludes our public meeting portion of the agenda. So we have no delegations this evening. We also have no items on the consent agenda this evening. So we're going to move into staff reports. So the first one being ASR 21-2025, respecting the 2026 to 2031 multi-year accessibility plan. Ms. Christina, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, it's been a few years since Council last adopted our multi-year accessibility plan, so we are due to renew that. And the document that you've been provided with really just outlines our plans for continued compliance with the AODA, and will cover us for the next 5 years should it be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I have a motion that the administrative staff report, ASR 21-2025, respecting a new 2026 to 2031 multi-year accessibility plan be received, and that the draft 2026 to 2031 multi-year accessibility plan be developed for the Township of Wainfleet by Harrington Group Limited be adopted. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Anderson, Councilor McCollum. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're going to move into ASR 22, 2025, respecting the 2026 council meeting schedule. Ms. Christina, can you please provide a brief overview or report once again?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, through you, it's that time of year. We need to start preparing for 2026. So staff have reviewed different things such as conferences, planned vacations, and tried to propose a schedule that works best with both staff and council's needs. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you once again. So with that, I have a motion that the administrative staff report ASR 22, 2025, respecting the 2026 council meeting schedule be received, and that the 2026 council meeting schedule outlined in the report be confirmed and adopted. Can I have a mover? Oh, can I have a seconder? Oh, I guess I will make the motion that we adopt it. Can I have a seconder? Councilor McClellan, go ahead. And then any discussion? Councilor Van Fleet?
Not really discussion, just I won't be here March 3rd and potentially April 14th.
Councilor Gilmore as well?
Well, Amber is aware of my schedule, but I also will not be here on the 3rd or the 24th of March. I'm away the whole month, and January 20. But specifically the 3rd, you'll be a little thin if you might want to consider moving that. It's up to you. I'm leaving on the 28th of February, so it could be the last week of February if you want to move that one.
Councilor McClellan, you got some too? All right, at Councilor Anderson, you got any?
I'm going to be here for all of them.
All right, so do we want to take that as staff direction, maybe look at an alternate for just the March 3rd? Or
So we'd be happy to take that as staff direction. Alternately, we can formulate our agenda and what's on it strategically around having a smaller number of councils. If it's we're at council's direction, whatever is preferable is workable.
yeah, for any, then we would have, yeah.
So do we want to move then the 3rd of March to the 10th of March?
Sure.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. No, March break
No,
is the following
following.
week, the
Yeah.
16th to the 20th.
Okay. All right, so we'll take that as staff direction. So with that, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Now we're going to move into ASR 23, 2025, respecting the 2026 proposed user fees and charges. Mr. Hart, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we discussed in the public meeting, the purpose of this report is just to propose the 2026 user fees and charges for the upcoming fiscal year in advance of the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. So with that, I have a motion that report ASR 23, 2025 regarding the proposed user fees and charges be received, and that council approve the recommended user fees and charges contained with Appendix A of the report, and that the general fees and charges bylaw attached as Appendix B be approved. Can I guess, can I get a mover and seconder? Councilor Anderson and Councilor Van Fleet. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll just call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Is it? Okay, ready now. All right. Okay, so now we're going to move to ASR 24, 2025, respecting the 2025 Q3 projected result report. Mr. Hart, once again, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you. Before you is Administrative Staff Report 24-2025. This details the township's projected year-end financial results as of September 30th, 2025. The report confirms that the township is well positioned to meet its 2025 budgetary targets. The key projections include an estimated operating surplus of approximately $940,000, an estimated capital surplus of $248,000, and anticipated total reserve and reserve fund balances of $5.8 million. These estimates are provided for timely information and to aid in the 2026 budget preparation. These figures are subject to final year-end adjustments and audit completion. The resulting final surplus will be recommended for transfer to reserves in the year-end results report and to be utilized as required in the 2026 fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. So I have a motion that the Administrative Staff Report ASR 2024, or 24-2025, respecting the 2025 Q3 projected results report be received as information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're going to move into Community and Development Services Staff Reports, CDS 1 2025, respecting the award of a request for proposal 2025-1 CDS Consulting Services for the Township of Wainfleet's official plan conformity and 10-year update. Ms. Earle, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the rest of council. On September 19th, the request for proposal, RFP, was seeking consulting services to complete the township's official plan and 10-year update, was issued on that date in accordance with the township's procurement policy. Upon the RFP closing on October 17th, staff received 6 bid submissions from qualified planning firms. Each submitted proposal was evaluated and scored by the selection committee based on the evaluation criteria outlined in the RFP. Following staff's review, the consultants with the 3 highest scoring proposals were selected to attend an interview with the selection committee, which expanded to include members of council, including Mayor Grant and Councillor McClellan. Based on the combined RFP scoring and interview process, GSP Group was the preferred consultant. As a result, staff recommends that the township awards the request for proposal, RFP 2025-01-CDS Consulting Services for the Township of Wainfleet's official plan conformity and 10-year update to GSP Group in the amount of $117,500. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Earle. So I have a motion that report CDS 1 2025 respecting the award for the official plan conformity and 10-year update be received, and that council direct the manager of community and development services to award the request for proposal RFP 2025-1 CDS consulting services for the Township of Wainfleet's official plan conformity and 10-year update to GSP Group in the amount of $117,500 plus HST. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore. Any discussion? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Do we have to make some sort of statement or description that members or members of council will be included in the every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks point of discussion with this group?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. There's nothing that's required to make that statement. Council is a working body and the decision maker, so happy to help guide some of the policy formulations. And we will prepare a full work program with different subject items for each meeting. So council can have a look at that once that's prepared to identify the areas of interest that they would like to attend.
If I might continue through you, Mayor. So as I sort of read the proposal, there'll be meetings with discussion. How many actual physical progress reports or drafts will they be giving us?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. That's a great question, Councillor. It depends on how many changes or directions we change on them. So Through the meetings, we will come up with a fulsome work plan on what the deliverables are that you'd like to see. Because we are combining both the regional official plan and our official plan, there's the conformity exercise piece, and then there'll be some other policy updates that have to occur. So we may want to see those as maybe redline version or something of that nature. So that might help council work through the policy changes.
I might continue through, Mayor. So if there's going to be a meeting, say in 5 or 10 days, will members of council be aware of the majority of the context of that meeting? And would we then be able to put question to either the attenders or through you?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely. We're not expecting a meeting in the next 5 to 10 days. We still have to work out the contract with the preferred consultant. But again, council is welcome to attend any or all of the meetings that they so choose to.
If I'll continue through you, Mayor, I think that the general public would be at least satisfied if through the progression of the process that council has a hand to it, and then we get into our public meetings, et cetera. But I think the public, from what I'm hearing, are interested that council is going to be a participant.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. And I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that is carried. Okay, so we're going to move into the memorandum respecting the hearing and screening officer appointment. Once again, Ms. Earl, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the rest of council. As per the Municipal Act, the township is required to provide a screening and hearing process for penalties issued under the Parking Administrative Monetary Penalty System, AMPS. It has been the township's practice to extend the same appeal process to non-parking AMPS matters as well. The original bylaw, number 007-2022, was created when the township entered a shared services agreement among 8 local municipalities, which appointed a shared hearing officer through a cost-sharing initiative back in 2022. However, throughout our 3-year term, the township experienced some issues with the larger municipalities taking up the monthly schedules with multiple hearings, so that really delayed our own hearings. So the township concluded our participation at the end of that term, and since that time we've operated independently, holding our own hearings with the previously utilized hearing officer. As of recent, the township explored the opportunity with the town of Pelham to share a hearing officer, and this arrangement is expected to better meet the township's needs. So in order to do so, staff are bringing forward for council's consideration a replacement of the township's bylaw number 007-2022, in which the new draft bylaw is only removing reference to the previous agreement, which is no longer in effect, as well as clarifying that the screening and hearing officers are for both parking and non-parking AMPS. The CIO remains the delegated authority to appoint the screening and hearing officer for the township. So as such, staff is recommending that council approve the draft bylaw for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Earls. So I have a motion that the memorandum respecting hearing and screening officer appointment be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McCullen? Councilor Gilmore? Any discussion? Councilor McCullen, go ahead.
You, Mr. Mayor, I just have one question. What does this cost us?
Mr. Hart? It's okay.
Turn it on.
The question was directed to you, Mr. Finance. Oh, okay.
It would be Lindsay.
Ms. Earl?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The original funding or the original agreement was for $750 a year. That was supposed to allow us up to 2 hearings bi-monthly. We never even got that in, so we had to pay for our own hearing officer. Sometimes it's more than $750, sometimes it's less. It depends on how many items we have that are upheld for screenings. So in my memo, you'll see that we've had anywhere from 2 to 3 hearings a year, and then once the short-term rentals came online, that got bumped up to, I believe, 30 last year. So it's something that we can't exactly plan for, but we have to do it on a case-by-case basis. But it is allocated through the legal budget line under bylaw in our operating budget annually.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Anderson, you had your hand up?
It was sort of Long John's question, but just for clarity, the 750 is a inline operating budget number, right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that was just included as a part of the legal fees or professional fees.
So,
It was higher than 750.
so was that speculated on, we were going to get X number of meetings, which we didn't get, or, like, how's that costed out? Is that an hourly rate or a meeting rate, or how do you cost that out?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the previous one was based on a number of meetings that we were supposed to have that didn't happen. So we have to accommodate for that as well as other professional fees because we had to go external to hire the hearing officer on our own. We are hoping that we could have a roster coming up, that we could have additional hearing officers should one not be available so that we have a higher level of service for our customers. So it is based on an hourly wage now. So sometimes it is a half day, a full day, or additional hours on top of that.
And we usually try, if we have them, we usually try to get 2 cases in the day, or?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, because we are combining our efforts with the town of Pelham, we will hold a couple until we have enough to have at least a half a day or a full day of hearings. So it could be anywhere from 2 to 8, for example.
It's just that I think when residents have an issue, they like to get it expedited ASAP, so it'll be what it is. Maybe, you know, maybe we'll go back to the 2 or 3 like we historically used to have.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and the last comment I will make is that a lot of our screening and hearing requests are actually seasonal in nature. Ours are typically based off of the parking season as well as the short-term rentals. So right now we don't have any that are pending hearings, where Pelham is the opposite of us. So it's going to work out, and we'll find a way to balance it and make sure we get hearings more frequent as needed.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, moving on to drainage staff reports. DSR 11-2025, respecting the award of tender for drain reconstruction to the Aldrey Drain. Mr. Nan, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Yes, this staff report is respecting the award of tender for the Aldrey Drain. The drain reconstruction project was presented to council through DSR 003-2024 and 005-2025. The township portion is included in draft 2026 capital budget, which will be coming forward. Township staff and Spirit Associates Engineering prepared a tender for the reconstruction of the Aldrey Drain in accordance with Township's procurement policy. Various contractors, local associations were notified of the advertisement on the Township's website. Upon the tender closing on November 6th, staff received 7 bids. The bids have been reviewed by the engineering and Township staff and meet the basic requirements of the Township as detailed in the original tender documents. The results of the tender and recommendations are listed in the report for council's consideration. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Nan. So I have a motion that drainage staff report DSR 11-2025, respecting the award of tender for drain reconstruction on the Aldrey Drain, be received, and that council directs staff to award the tender for the reconstruction of the Aldrey Drain to Wasink Excavating Limited. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, moving on to DSR 12-2025, respecting the Swayze Drain management options. Once again, Mr. Nan, can you please provide a brief overview of this report?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to members of council. The next report is respecting the Swayze Drain. Current engineering report is from 1961, and based on discussions with property owners, The needs of the drain cannot be met utilizing the 1961 engineering report. There have been a number of severances in the watershed, changes to land use with the closure and disposal of the CN rail transition to residential and agricultural. Staff have identified entrance culverts that need to be remediated through an improvement project. Staff have included recommendations for council's consideration in the report. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Nan. So I have a motion that Drainage Staff Report DSR 12-2025 regarding the future management of the Swayze Drain be received, and that council authorize staff to prepare and distribute the necessary notices in accordance with Section 78(1), the Drainage Act, and that council appoint Sprite Associates Limited Engineering under the Drainage Act to improve the Swayze Drain. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Gilmore, Councilor McClellan, any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, now we're going to move into Public Works staff reports. So we have PWSR 21-2025 respecting the building condition assessments. Mr. Nan, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. This report, obviously, regarding the building conditional assessment, which made up the bulk of your package this evening, and I apologize for that. The township retained the services of Englobe Corporation to perform building conditional assessments for 8 locations, including 10 buildings, totaling approximately 88,400 square feet. As part of the scope of work, a building conditional assessment report and metrics were provided for each facility. Observations, deficiencies, and recommendations were provided in the report, along with the 10-year capital expenditure table, which includes the building condition findings. The report has been shared and incorporated in the township new asset management plan that was presented to council on October 21st. Staff will utilize the findings presented in the report and will include the recommendations for future budget considerations, as well as utilizing current operating budgets to implement some of the improvements. Staff will be prioritizing the various deficiencies identified in the report and preparing a long-term replacement cycle. Staff will consider during the prioritization aspects such as repairs that will extend the life cycle and prevent further deterioration of the assets. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Nan. So I have a motion that the Public Works Staff Report PWSR 21-2025 respecting the building condition assessments be received for information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? Councilor McClellan.
You, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Nan, these guys were more than thorough. They went through everything. Maybe a little too much if you're sitting here wondering how you're going to pay for it, but no, they did an excellent job. There's, like I say, there's some stuff in here that they worry about. Screws rusting on the side of the siding on buildings. I think that just comes with age. I don't know that you go and change them all, but they were thorough, if nothing else. So I think it was a good report. It was definitely enlightening. I don't agree with everything they said, but we'll work that out.
Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
This is more just a comment. I remember a line that particularly stood out to me in the October 21st asset management presentation, giving the indicators of we like to have performance and costing and risk all considered. However, the famous line I like to paraphrase is that asset management is the lowest life cost over the cycle of the asset. So I think that, you know, when we look at going forward with spending, I think we need to keep that line in our context of what we do and what we don't do.
Councilor Anderson, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, now we're going to move into PWSR 2022-2025, respecting the speed limit reductions. Mr. Nam, once again, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship, the members of council. At the regular meeting of council dated September 30th, council received correspondence regarding speeding concerns on Hewitt Road. Council subsequently passed a resolution directing the manager of operations to prepare a report with recommendations on lowering the speed limit on all municipal roads for consideration at the November 8th meeting. Staff took the time and reviewed along with our legal department, various provincial legislations, provincial, municipal, including bylaws, and it was included in Regulation 803, Ontario Regulation 23902, 31603, the Highway Traffic Act, local bylaws. A lot of these things were taken into consideration when reviewing any reduction in speeds throughout the township. Part of the legislation that was key to internally was the minimum maintenance standards for municipal highways, which may be affected in any reduction. The report outlines the legislative framework, potential operational impacts, and options available to council regarding speed reductions. I'm available for questions at this time.
Sorry. So at this time, does any member of council wish to make a motion to select one of the options presented? Councilor McCullough, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Nan. So, through you, Mr. Mayor.
We'll have to make a motion first before we can discuss.
Motion to receive? Sure.
Motion just received as information at this time?
Yes.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Van, or?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll second your
Okay.
motion. Any discussion on receiving for information, just so we can have a discussion before deciding an option? Okay, all right, so then I'll call the question. All in favor? Well,
No.
oh,
That's good.
okay. Councilor McCullough, understood. Councilor McCullough, go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Nan, after reading this, we can put the speed limit down to 20 kilometers. Problem is enforcement, and we don't have enforcement. It's not the town's job to do that. It's the Niagara Regional Police. I know you call them out when we get complaints, when we put our own speed monitors out there and you see that people are traveling. That helps it for a week, 10 days. Maybe if you're really lucky, you get 3 weeks out of it. But then people go back to their old habits. It doesn't matter what we put out there. Nobody's going to slow down. I mean, we have provisions in to put speed bumps, speed humps, and maybe that's the way we look at it, but then the complaints will go up because people's front ends are coming out of their cars and they're doing so. I don't know what the answer is on it. People just don't pay attention anymore to the speed limits. But I don't know what the answer is. Maybe you have a better answer. I've seen people speeding through those things we put on Lakeshore to see how fast they can get through it without hitting them. So I really don't know what the answer is.
Through your worship, to members of council and Mr. Councilor McClellan, the difficult part is we can't fix people's behavior. Similarly, if we pave a brand-new road, people like to take the brand-new road because it's a smoother road. And they usually travel faster because they don't realize that they're actually going faster because it's a smooth road. We've had, in discussions with the NRP, 90% of the accidents that have taken place are speed-related above and beyond the speed limits. They've not necessarily been charged for that, whatever the incident is, and that's up to them to make those decisions. But anytime we've had our traffic counters out and identified speeding, yes, they have done a blitz, and unfortunately, as we're all aware, we have one officer assigned to Wainfleet. It's the second largest in the Niagara region, land mass-wise, but we have the fewest officers. And in speaking with the officer over a recent incident we had, when we had to file a report, he was saying that even times, like summer months, when they're busy elsewhere, we don't have anybody here. Or if both, or if he's in court, the day, from somebody complaining about a traffic speeding ticket, and they're complaining and they're going to court to try and fight it. Well, now he's in court, so he's not even here, but that's his regular day to be here. So it's difficult to do anything. Yes, we can reduce speeds on any road, but again, whatever we do, it's still related to traffic enforcement. And at any point, council is aware, we passed the policy last year regarding traffic calming. At any point, council can look at any specific roads, and we can start investigating specific roads and seeing if they warrant any upgrades for traffic calming.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can. So is there something that you would suggest that council put in place where, if there's 1, 2, 3 accidents on a road, that we then go to speed bumps or speed humps? Or, I know there's a road in Pelham that, man, oh man, you can't go down that thing without losing your front end on. And that'll probably do the same damage to our snowplows and everything else that has to go down all winter. So is there something we can put in place for that, or is it not practical?
Sorry, through your worship, Councilor McClellan. Speed humps, speed bumps, chicanes, there's all kinds of different things that we could use on the roads. The problem is, like, for instance, for speed bumps like they have in that road, you have to reduce the speed limit, posted speed limit, to 30 an hour to make sure they don't even get up to speed to hit those things. Speed humps, for instance, which are a little bit more, they're less abrupt, you can take up to 50 But in most cases, when you're doing traffic calming, they're designed for urban, built-up residential areas, not for rural roads, which makes up over 80% of our roads. So on through roads, it's difficult to do anything unless you reduce the entire speed limit down to 50 or less. And then again, it's a wide open stretch. You'll have the complaints of, well, they stop, but then they speed up as soon as they hit it, and then they got tire marks and everything else. So it's difficult to say what's going to be the best. We could try certain roads, specific roads that council may be interested in, and lower the speed limits, accordingly, if they choose to do so. And maybe that's a trial period. The only other, if you're looking at a professional option, is to hire an engineering firm to do a complete road study. But as we all know, every time you hire a consultant to do something like that, it's very expensive. And we weren't planning on budgeting for that.
Yeah. Well, I get that. Okay. You've answered my question. Thanks.
Councillor Anderson?
Through you, Mayor. I think rather than the bumps and humps and all the other stuff that we're talking about, I think we should just carry on with the fact that we have your speed is, that we can put out on a road, and if we get numerous complaints on a certain road, we could go out and you could charge that thing up and put it there, and the people who will behave will go, oh, gee, I didn't know I was going that fast. And all the people who need a little more dopamine in their life are still going to keep speeding. So I just think it's a never-ending story. And I think chasing money is a fool's gold. Thank you.
Councillor Gilmore, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry I asked. But I still believe that psychologically you drive slower if the speed limit is 60 than if it's 80. Because everybody knows that 60 means 75 is still good without a ticket. 80 means 95. So the reason I suggested we just lower it across the township, like Niagara and the Lake just did, by the way, I just read that today. They lowered theirs to 70 across their whole municipality. Is that I agree that it's an enforcement problem and that's not going to get better. But it might be a psychological exercise to slow some people down in some areas. And at least we're trying to do something. But then I read about 19 other things that you got to do one thing. And I just say, well, I shouldn't have asked. But Niagara on the Lake lowered theirs to 70. I don't know what all they did to do that, except get a bunch of money from the region to pay for the signs out of some fund they have. So maybe we can get that, even though we're on the wrong side of the hill, we still might be able to get some of that.
Through your worship to Councilor Gilmore, part of that funding was from the red light cameras and the speed cameras that they were utilizing in Niagara on the Lake. So that's what a lot of that funding was. We didn't utilize those cameras in Wainfleet. We may get a small portion sent to us, but we didn't utilize them in Wainfleet. So we don't have the bulk of the money to be accessed for that purpose, because that was distributed through the program. Yes, they did. They have a lot of more rural or urban areas than we do in Wainfleet. We have, because we're such a large rural community. But again, there's like, if for instance, option one, we can pick and choose whatever we want to lower specifically, or we can do the whole township and then go through the entire process.
Well,
Go ahead,
if I can
Councilor.
continue. Well, I mean, Perry Road, where I live, is 50, and at least it's not 80, because at least they're only going 75. So I just think it's a psychological exercise. Maybe we don't do anything. I just don't like doing nothing when there's an ongoing problem. Yeah, I mean, the NRP could pay their whole budget sitting on a few roads in the township. No problem. For the one or two police officers that we get assigned, their salaries would be covered in no time. But yeah, I don't know what to do. So maybe we just do nothing and let it rest. But I don't want to see anybody get hit because we did nothing.
Councilor Van Fleet, you had your hand up first.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that it doesn't matter if it's paved or stone. I can confirm that people go just as fast down a gravel road. We just hope that they keep the shiny side up. But my question is, with off-road, like with side-by-sides or golf carts or whatever, how does that work with if we were to lower it to the speed limit? I thought I read that, but.
Through your worship to Councilor Van Vliet. Yes, I did confirm with legal. We are listed under the regulation 803 for local municipalities where 80 kilometers per hour speed limit applies. We're listed in their table. So therefore, if we do nothing, they will be allowed to drive on our roads based on the Highway Traffic Act. Even if we lower the speed limits across the town, as long as we don't get removed from that table, they'll still apply. The regulation still applies because it's a provincial regulation, which supersedes our bylaws. If we get removed from that table in future, for instance, then we will have to implement a bylaw, either allowing or not allowing. But currently, the way it stands, it won't affect the side-by-sides or any quads currently because we didn't act on it, trying to prohibit any of their usage.
My next question is, if we were to lower the speed limits, let's just hypothetically, if we lowered it to 50 or 60 kilometers across the township, is there like an exemption for like farm vehicles? Because a spray buggy can go 65, 70K.
Through your worship, it doesn't matter under the highway track. As long as it's a motorized vehicle, they can be charged going over the speed limit.
Thanks.
Councilor McCullen, you want back in? No? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
I just wondered if we have any results where we had a complaint on a certain road and we charged up your speed is, and we put them out there for a couple of weeks, and then they can't live there forever, so we take them away. Did we do a follow-up a few weeks later to see if the percentile, I think was 85 percentile, was correctly at the right speed? Did we go back out a couple weeks later, indicating to the, residents, here, we're back? How is it still now, whatever? Like, maybe that's what works, if there are roads here, or maybe all the roads here are speeding roads. I don't think we can do nothing, but I'm not sure what the do nothing is followed by.
Yeah. Through your worship, to Councilor Anderson, yes, we did go back to one location a second time. The percentile changed by 1%, and that was it. Sometimes it's people's perception of speed, but there are some areas that we have noticed excessive speed, and those times that we get those results back, we usually notify the NRP to say, listen, can you go out there and do some enforcement, because we've got some identifications that show that they've been excessive speeding. Bessie Road was one of them. I even told staff, if you're going down that road, be careful next time, because you might get hit. But some of the other calming devices, like we talked about previously in the past, we do have the portable units, and they're portable. We can hook them up to a truck and move them to different locations at any time we want, and leave them out there for a week or two, and then come back several months later. Budgetary wise, because we're always conscious on budget, a lot of municipalities are putting up the permanent ones, similar to what we did on Lakeshore, for that that one area that they constantly sped through. But again, budgetary constraints. We can't just label the entire town with all that type of traffic calming. And it does work periodically, but again, if there's no enforcement to subsidize that, it's difficult to get any reactions.
Councilor McClellan, go
For you,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. So, Richard, we know Hewitt Road, they speed. It's, if you go on Google, it'll tell you to take it as a shortcut if you're going into Welland. So, if we were to lower the speed limit on that particular road, yeah, maybe the worst place that I drive is Riverside Drive. They will crawl right up to your back bumper to get on you, and believe me, I don't drive slow. But you can't see the front end of their car. They're right behind you. But that's a regional road, so we won't go there. But for ours, if we were to lower that to a lower speed limit, and what I don't want to see is everybody in town saying, oh, my street's busy, and we're dropping it all the way over. And we can't enforce it, right? So at least if we get that one, we can say, okay, we know it's, we can call the police out and say, it's been dropped to 50, 65, whatever you want to put for a number there that works and still lets you travel down the road at a decent rate. But I think that's it. The other place I would love to see go slower is anything probably south of number 3 highway and First Concession down there, because I drive down there in evenings. People are going for a walk. Again, you can't fix what people do, but they'll go out and they got a black sweatshirt on and they got a black hoodie or toque on, and they're wearing dark pants and dark shoes. Like, it's a narrow road, and they're nothing. Like, I don't know how many times I've stopped over the years and gave away one of our construction vests to people so they won't get hit. And it just doesn't seem to catch on, right? People just don't. They're going walking, and that's the end of it. I don't care what I'm wearing, right?
Through your worship, Councilor McClellan, a lot of the roads south of number 3 highway have reduced speeds to begin with. Mm-hmm. So again, it's an enforcement issue when it comes down to it. You recall some of the complaints we had on, I believe it was Burnaby Road.
Yeah.
Again, we did traffic counts, we had enforcement out there, and I can't do anything other than that, like that, without the enforcement part. But we can definitely, again, considering if council wanted to consider option one, it's basically stay as it is, and if council wants to reduce certain roads that are known to be a problem or complaint-driven or whatever, we can add them at any point. It's just a matter of coming back the following council meeting with an updated bylaw listing it under that schedule. And we can pick and choose which roads you want to do, or however council wants to choose which ones.
Councilor Gilmore's waiting first here.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I just thought that making a blanket policy stating that the speed limit is X unless otherwise posted was the simplest and most cost-effective thing to do. And I'm confused whether that is actually accurate or not. If it is, then I'd like to possibly see if you can recoup any of the cost for those few signs that would be necessary to make that policy change, to get that from the Regions Fund, of which Niagara-on-the-Lake is receiving $134,000. Surely we can get 12,000 of that to do what we need.
Mr. Hart?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if I haven't seen that report by Niagara-on-the-Lake, but as Richard alluded, it's probably the funds from the red light cams and the speeding cameras, which has now been outlawed, so we won't be getting that money anymore. We did receive approximately $18,000, which is to be used for traffic calming measures, and we had used that money to pay for the signs on Lakeshore and some other like line painting and that kind of stuff. So I don't think we can get additional funds from the region for this purpose, if it's the same like grant funding or, but.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and read the news article, but it had some typically long name and referenced a few years down the road. Vision Zero, I don't know, some other thing.
I can speak. Vision Zero is the red light camera
Yeah.
and the community safety.
Okay,
so that
well-
is directly for that.
All right, so now the money's sitting in there. They can't have red light cameras. They spent a lot of it putting up the ones that got cut down the day after they put them back up 10 times on Victoria Avenue, for instance. So, I mean, I'm glad that's gone away, but now they have to decide what to do with whatever dollars are left from them reconstructing cameras every third day of the year. What's going to happen with that fund? Because Niagara-on-the-Lake's getting $134,000 of those dollars. I don't know how many cameras they had in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Maybe they did have a bunch. I don't know. They didn't collect anything from the one on Victoria, I can tell you that, because every day that went up, the next day that I passed by there, it was chopped down, and that it went on for 6 or 8 months. Complete waste of money.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Vision Zero program didn't matter where the cameras were located. It was divided out by, I think, assessed dollars. So like, we don't have one in Wainfleet, but we still got the first year allocation of funds, which like I said, was approximately 18,000. We haven't received the amounts from 2025 yet. I imagine it's probably around the same, maybe a little bit less, because as people get these tickets, they might realize that they don't want to speed in that area anymore. But we will be getting a little bit of money, but in the future, the Vision Zero program will have to be canceled because of the new legislation. So we can't be expecting that money year by year, but we could be expecting a check for 2025. And that's already all been allocated. Like, the region allocates all their costs of having to repair all of those cut down poles and that kind of stuff. There is no excess money that we can apply for. It's just based on their volumes.
Okay, so we're probably going to get maybe the same amount as we got the last time, which we haven't spent yet. Is that fair to say? Well, then you got the money for the signs that I wanted to get in the first place. So why can't we go back to the blanket policy idea? We're getting the money from the region, and let's at least do something rather than nothing.
Councilor McClellan, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So can we agree on 65 or 70 kilometers, Mr. Gilmore? What is, like, we got to pick a number, so.
Well, yeah, I'm not too fussy on the number. I still want to come back to my other comment about the psychological part of it. Because since the region lowered the speed north of Beckett's Bridge, I mean, I can only speak what I do personally, but I do not drive 93 there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I drive about 78, I'll admit. It works, though, and those things that tell you how fast you're going, for me, that works too.
Yeah.
As soon as I see that thing go off, I let off the throttle, all the time.
I'm not arguing with you.
It's psychological, so at least we can try to do something. Yeah, I don't care what number it would be. I would say, you could say 60 unless otherwise posted. And then you'll get people in the 70 to 75 percentile, and that's better than 88 or 92.
Yeah.
That's all I'm suggesting.
Councilor Wainfleet, you still want it?
No, I am in agreement with Terry, I'm Councilor Gilmore on that, but I'm wondering if slowing down, because I do the exact same thing. On 24, I slow down, but it's only fear because I know there's going to be a cop up by the golf course, to be honest. That's why I slow down, not for the signage. But I think that 65, 70 is a good number, and we'll bring people down. And the roads that are still a problem, we probably could bring them down a little bit more. Like, I think you said Hewitt,
Yeah.
Lambert.
So what I'd
Usual
like to see,
suspects.
though, is us get some sort of a system that Richard doesn't have to come back to us to say, you know, we're at 65 and we're still having problems on Hewitt Road. So I've had 2 car accidents or 3 cars in the ditch. I want to drop that to 50, and he can do that without coming back to council, right? It should just be, here's our policy. We have this problem, then you can do that. I don't know how you set that up, or I haven't thought about it long enough, but.
Go ahead, Councilor Gilmore.
Okay, we spent a lot of time on this. Why don't we defer this to a future meeting and I'll give it some thought. I mean, there's not an imminent rush to do this. I want to do it one time correctly. So maybe we can, maybe in the February meeting or something when there may be not too much going on. Is that okay? By then we'll know how much money we're getting from the non-cut down red light camera fund, and then we can go from there.
Yes.
So, do you want a motion? Oh.
All right. So
That
the
motion's
still
on the floor,
Yeah.
and you've heard what we've said, so let's vote.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's carried. Okay, so we're now going to move into PWSR 23-2025, respecting the assumption of the Marshville Estates subdivision known as Memmy Court. Mr. Nan, once again, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to members of council. This is my last report this evening for consideration to sue Marshville Estates subdivision, better known as Memmy Court. This project began in 2005, and a subdivision agreement was entered into between the township and developer in October 2012. Various deficiencies were identified during the maintenance period, and the developer has now completed the necessary repairs to the satisfaction of staff. Now that the maintenance period has expired, staff received an official request from the developer on October 28, 2025 for us to assume the subdivision and to release the letter of credit being held by the township. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Nan. So I have a motion that PWSR 23-2025, respecting the request for assumption of the Marshville Estate subdivision, Memmi Court, be received, and that council enact a bylaw to approve full acceptance and assumption of the Marshville Estate subdivision, Memmi Court, and that council direct the manager of operations to issue the final certificate of completion of services. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan? Councilor Gilmore? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so moving on to review of correspondence, we have 2 more items of correspondence on the agenda for consideration this evening. Correspondence item C204, respecting the Ontario Airport Capital Assistance Program. Councilor McClellan, you requested to pull this item. Do you wish to make a motion?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that correspondence item C204 from the City of Brantford respecting Ontario Airport Capital Assistance Program be received and supported. Sent out to every other municipality that has a municipal airport.
Absolutely. Can I have a seconder for Councilor Wainfleet? Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, correspondence item C205, respecting the Veterans Crosswalk request. Councilor Gilmore, you requested to pull this item. So before I ask for a motion, I'm going to ask Mr. Nan to provide comment on the request.
I apologize, Your Worship. This correspondence was, I apologize, which one was that? Oh, the crosswalk.
Veterans
yes.
Crosswalk.
Through Your Worship, yes. We currently are running a little bit of difficulty because, number one, we don't own the road, and it's owned by the MTO, a portion of it anyways, and the other portion is owned by the church. There's other opportunities that were suggested, which is from the walkway in front of council chambers going over towards the cenotaph, which creates an issue because it's a mid-block, but it's too close to the intersection to actually have a crosswalk. Some of the other suggestions that were brought forward was instead of a crosswalk, we could name it potentially a memorial sidewalk and do a portion of a sidewalk within the township somewhere. Some of the suggestions that were brought up was potentially the library or in front of the arena or the ramp going into the arena. But again, we would call it a memorial cross or a memorial sidewalk rather than a crosswalk. Those are some of the suggestions. Just to advise council, there still is ongoing discussions with the MTO regarding sidewalks, crosswalks, community safety zones, but at this point, we're still in discussions with them, with the help from our member of parliament.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Nan. So at this time, we need a motion on the floor to have discussion. So Councilor Gilmore, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, well, I'll move that we accept the correspondence. The only I didn't really request to have it pulled. I just noticed that it didn't go to staff, so it only went to us and Janet. She was talking to me at Remembrance Day, and she said I hadn't heard back from anybody. So I looked again and realized that it had only gone to the 5 of us, and that I don't believe that you were aware of it. So I forwarded it so it would get on here. And I did explain to her all the problems with this road, but I just want us to work with them and figure out a place for it. Is there anywhere on this road from that intersection to the back of the town hall where it could go across to somewhere? I mean, it's largely, it's not so much a specific walkway for people as it is a symbolic. That's why it would be ideal to go from here to there. But again, it's the usual. You want to do one thing and you jump through 29 other hoops to do one thing. And here we are again. And in the end, you can't get anything done. So we got to figure out something because it's a good idea.
Councillor Wainfleet?
Can we do it, not here, I understand the problems here. What about the other way, Park Street?
Through your worship, Councilor Van Vliet, I'm a little bit lost. Through
Okay.
Park Street?
Like right in front of, like, not, like between Miners and the stop sign. Isn't that our road?
Through your worship, again, the unfortunate part is we don't have any sidewalks for it to go to. Like, there's no
Right, it
sidewalks
would-
on Park
yeah.
Street. We have no designated sidewalks on it, on most of our roads. And in fact, the entire sidewalk on MTO Highway, we're either fortunate or unfortunate, but the MTO still owns that sidewalk. The township doesn't own the sidewalk on Highway 3, which in most municipalities have been downloaded to the municipalities. But in our case, they haven't downloaded it to us, so they still own that sidewalk, and that's why we're not pushing the issue, because it needs to be upgraded anyways.
Does it
That's
have-
the unfortunate part. We don't own a lot of sidewalks that we can actually put it across a road that's gonna be visible enough to the community.
Is it a-
Again, one of the options we talked about is maybe a walkway,
Yeah.
or
'cause I
maybe
was-
through a sidewalk, or
Is
like
it so
an
much
entrance.
going from like a sidewalk to a sidewalk, or just having the, like the painted portion for remembrance on the road, like the visual? Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of it being an actual sidewalk?
Through your worship, we can do that. It just wouldn't be considered a crosswalk. And we wouldn't put any signs indicating it'd be a crosswalk because it doesn't go anywhere. But, you know, at any point, we can paint a memorial on a road. We own it. We can do whatever we want.
What about over where the Avondale used to be? Sorry, I'm predating everybody here.
By the mailboxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the,
On the parquet.
yeah, thank you, I was stuck.
In the parquet itself,
Yeah, there's sidewalks there.
in the parquet, there is sidewalks, yes.
Do we own them?
We own the sidewalks in the parquet, just not along the highway,
We suck.
and not crossing Feeder Road as well.
Councillor McCullen, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and this is just an open question, and anybody can answer it. What's the name of the parks behind it, the ball fields, the soccer fields, all of that? Is there a name for that, or can we just call that Memorial Park and there will be a dedication for the veterans?
The sports complex, you mean?
Yeah, so behind the arena, all the fields and everything that's there.
Right now, it's just the Wainfleet Sports Complex. It doesn't have naming rights to that complex. The arena, we.
It has a name now.
We
so
have a
yes.
name for it.
Yeah.
And we're negotiating that, but to this point, I think it's still considered the Wainfleet Sports Complex.
I'm just wondering if we could change it to Memorial Park, and it gets used every day, most of the year, right? Instead of once a year when we're standing out here.
So I like where Councillor McCullen is going, but as everybody just heard, we are still in conversation with the MTO as to whether or not a crosswalk will be permitted here. So why don't we wait and see how that actually plays out? If we do get awarded the crosswalk, which we all want, then obviously that's where we put it. But if that does not happen, then we start to look at other avenues, whether we do it there or like if we renamed the sports complex and we painted a mural on the washrooms, or we're doing the pavilion, we could put it somewhere, do the entire new concrete floor of the pavilion like that. But I think we should really, since all the buzz comes around these lest we forget crosswalks that you see everywhere, and I've seen new ones pop up every year. I think that, obviously the best place is near the cenotaph, so we should wait and see if we can get the crosswalk right near the cenotaph and then do it there, right? If council is okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Councillor Gilmore, go ahead.
No, that's a good idea, and I think in the interim, you should probably schedule a meeting with Janet to flesh out what her thoughts are, and what their vision is, and then we can incorporate it when we can come up with a suitable idea. I mean, maybe the walkway that goes up to the cenotaph from the road can be reconfigured and incorporate what, I'm not sure what all she wants to put on the, what she wants it to look like, but maybe it could be on that walkway. So I think you need to have a meeting with her.
Okay, so with all the discussion being said, I'll make a motion that we authorize the director of, or manager of operations, so sorry, Richard, manager of operations to work with the director of the Historical Society to review options to come back to us at a later date. So can I get a seconder? Councilor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Perfect. Okay, so with that, we're going to move into bylaws. So we have a motion that the following bylaws be read and passed this 18th day of November, 2025. Bylaw number 41, 2025, being a bylaw to delegate authority to the Chief Administrative Officer to appoint a screening and hearing officer for the Township of Wainfleet. Bylaw number 42, 2025, being a bylaw to assume municipal works in respect of registered plan 59M396, being the subdivision known as Marshville Estates, Memmi Court. Bylaw number 43, 2025, being a bylaw to provide for interim tax levies for the year of 2026 for the Township of Wainfleet. And bylaw number 44, 2025, being a bylaw to establish and regulate payment of various fees and charges within the Township of Wainfleet. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Gilmore, Councilor McClellan, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so are there any notices of motion this evening? Okay, seeing none. So with that, then I have a motion that council now move into closed session to discuss item under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. One item, a staffing matter, and the second item will be minutes of the closed meetings of council held October 21st, 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Anderson and Councilor Gilmore, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we'll move into closed.